Goddess Growth seeks $860 million from Verano in a failed marijuana acquisition, you guys. Marijuana multi-state operator Goodness Growth is seeking $860.9 million in damages from Verano Holdings Corp. Alleged breach of contract after the latter terminated its agreement to acquire Goodness Growth Holdings, you guys. Goodness Growth alleges that it continues to pay a steep cost for the failed all-stock deal initially valued at roughly $413 million after Verano wrongfully terminated the deal. Verano's repudiation of the agreement constitutes an estimatable threat that Goodness Growth's ongoing operation, according to the filing, in a quote, says, it deprived the company of the access to capital it needed in circumstances where its looming debt faculty deadline made it particularly vulnerable. That vulnerability persists and increases with each passing day, and Verano declined to comment on the ongoing litigation, but filed a counterclaim to Goodness Growth's claim back in October of 2022. In its counterclaim, Verano maintained that its acquisition target breached the company's agreement by omitting crucial inflammatory in-company documents, misleading shareholders, and refusing to obtain an updated fairness opinion of terms of the agreement. In a quote, we believe the decisions to terminate this agreement was in the best interest of Verano and our shareholders. Verano founder CEO George Archos said in a statement when the agreement was terminated back in 2022, Verano added that Goodness Growth owed a $14.8 million termination fee plus an additional $3 million in transaction expenses. Goodness Growth CEO Josh Rosen said in an interview with MJ Biz Daily that he believes Verano had buyer's remorse when cannabis stock prices plummeted after the companies announced their plans in February of 2022. The claim alleges that Verano manufactured delays, requested unnecessary documentation, and built a case arguing that Goddess's Growth didn't fulfill its end of the agreement. In a quote, we're pretty comfortable we were wronged, Rosen said. Rosen told MJ Biz Daily that he expects some members of the business and investor community to raise their eyebrows at the large sum Goodness Growth is seeking in damages, more than half of the value of the original deal. And Rosen and his team hired a third party to assess the harm and terminated agreement has caused, which was evaluated by looking at factors such as debt maturities within 6 months and more than $15 million in capital commitments related to a New York expansion project that has since been divested, workforce reductions, asset sales, amended credit arrangements, an expensive debt capital raise, and solvency risk that made borrowing even more expensive. One interest rate was as high as 18%, challenging growth opportunities. And now the company is perpetually on the edge of or in default on the loan agreement with Chicago Atlantic, facing additional near-term debt maturities, according to Goddess Growth's claim. But Rosen, who transitioned from Goddess Growth's interim chief executive CEO in May, said the company won't go down without a fight. In a quote, we're still vulnerable, but we've gotten ourselves through the worst part, Rosen said. We feel pretty good about where we sit, and we feel like we can let this go to term if needs to. Verano's total liabilities exceed $1 billion, and Rosen, who is also managing partner at Los Angeles-based venture capital firm Bengal Capital, said he was surprised that few analysts who cover Verano asked for more information from Goodness Growth about the potentially massive liability. And Verano disclosed the ongoing litigation in its quarterly report of the period ending in March 30th and updated shareholders on Goddess Growth's request for an expedited trial and damages. The company can provide no guarantees or assurances that it will prevail or settle this lawsuit or its counterclaim on favorable terms, and if at all, and an adverse outcome could have a material adverse effect on its business's results of operations and financial condition, Verano said in its filing. Several analysts have contacted MJ Biz Daily but declined to speak on record about their coverage of Verano, which trades on the CBOE Canada Exchange as VRNQ and over-the-counter markets as VRNOF, but noted that Verano's executive team wouldn't comment on ongoing litigation. Verano calculated its total liabilities at more than $1 billion on this, you guys. And the lawsuit, that means that even a settlement well below $860 million Goddess Growth is seeking would be a blow to Verano, according to Howard Penny, a financial analyst who covers restaurants and cannabis for Connecticut-based research firm Hedgeye. The lawsuit caught Penny's attention when he was researching Grown Rogue, an Oregon-headquartered cannabis MSO that partnered with Goodness Growth to help it improve its product quality. Now Penny is advising Hard Eye readers to go on Goodness Growth, which takes trades on the Canadian Securities Exchange as GDNS and OTC as GDNSF, citing similar lawsuits pertaining acquisitions such as Elon Musk's attempt to terminate his acquisition of Twitter, now known as X, or closer to home, MedMen's Enterprises' canceled acquisition of PharmaCann. In a quote says, "Even if it's $50 million, they can really afford that," Penny said in an interview with MJ Biz, adding that rescheduling to other federal reform could boost the industry's access to capital. And meanwhile, Penny said Goodness's Growth is well positioned for Minnesota's forthcoming adult use marijuana market, which is poised to launch in 2025. And we're just going to close it out on that, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say.
Due diligence is a bitch.
Yeah, it is.
You don't actually do it. I mean, I've been involved in several acquisitions, none this big. You do a letter of intent or a memo of understanding, and then you start gathering documents, you bring experts in to take a look at this. Because buyer's remorse is one thing, fraud's another. Mm-hmm. And it's a delicate balance here. And these contracts are complex. The escape hatches, the back doors, and things like that are what, the Lawyers Full Employment Act. So this is going to keep a lot of lawyers busy. I'm not sure who's going to learn from this other than know what you're buying or who you're getting in bed with.
Yeah, I mean, but do you? I think they might have actually had some buyer's remorse as soon as the stock price dropped. They're like, oh, whoa, we got to slow this whole thing down. I think they might be right about that, Dale.
Well, I've seen it before, and you go start digging around, and once you ink the documents and things show up or circumstances happen that make you feel like I got screwed here, mm-hmm. You bring the lawyers in to look for every loophole you can. And most contracts have loopholes in them, and then the battle is over whether you qualify for the loophole or not.
Yep. Fair enough. You have any thoughts on this, Luke?
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I was muted. This reminds me of the scene on Wayne's World where his ex-girlfriend shows up and he's like, "Yo, what are you doing here?" And she goes, "Oh, I'm just coming over." And he goes, "But we broke up like a month ago." And she goes, "That doesn't mean we still can't go out." And she's wearing like his old Metallica t-shirt or some shit. Mm-hmm. Yes. Like, these situations suck, right? Yeah. But it's just a situation where, like, hey, they don't want to F with you anymore. Mm-hmm. Straight up. Go your own way and go do your own thing. Listen, you were supposed to make money with them, and now it's not happening. Go find another way to make money. That's how I look at these situations, right? Like, yeah, but
they got purchased. They got purchased, and then they didn't.
I know. Listen, I know the technicalities of it. I know why Elon Musk had to buy Twitter. I know what the situation. I get it. But what I'm saying to me is, like, I don't want to be somewhere that don't want me. Mm-hmm. My brand or our company or whatever it is that is being purchased or acquired, right? That's your dream, your lifeblood. That's the thing that you are inspired by, right? Mm-hmm. If they're not inspired by it in the same way, go find another path, man. There's more than one path to the top of the mountain.
That part is true.
Yeah, but not every contract brings rainbows and unicorns. Sometimes you just gotta hold your nose and swallow it because it's in the best interest of the company.
That's
to
true.
deal with the assholes you have to deal with, and it's very complicated. And the money in the weed industry right now, when you find someone who's got it, you want to go towards that flame. And sometimes it turns out you get burned swimming towards that flame. And it looks like in this case, they just got cold feet, or they didn't like what they were seeing, or a combination of a lot of that. Now you're left holding your Johnson bar, and how much are you damaged because they pulled out when you may have started your own acquisitions and your own expansions based upon anticipation of money, and now it's all gone, and what's the damages? I mean, it's geeky, and it's what lawyers make their living on.
Right. But doesn't all this just basically boil down to just simple common sense in business, right? Like, I'm not going to make moves until I know that the pound is in my hand. I'm not going to overpromise things in another place until the product is sitting on my shelf. Like, there's certain things, like, I get it. Like, yeah, we make forecasts and predictions and projections and all of those things in the business space, right? But at the same time, like, let's just boil this back down and say, hey, I'm not going to go out and buy a new Ferrari until that check actually hits my account. Instead of anticipating that the check is going to hit my account, buy the Ferrari, and then throw my arms up in the air when I ain't got the money to pay for the Ferrari.
Mm-hmm. In an ideal world, you're right. But we deal with human beings in the world we're in, and people lie, cheat, and steal, do dumbass things, and then try to get somebody else to figure out why they did something wrong and not take responsibility. I get cynical. I've run into so many lion sacks of shit in my career that, I do a lot of due diligence, and even then, you still can't find out everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fair enough.